Welcome back, deep divers. Today, we're diving into some ancient Chinese wisdom with the I Ching, specifically the third hexagram Zhun. If you've ever felt like you're starting something new and everything's a tangled mess, this one's for you.
It really does capture that feeling, doesn't it? Zhun gives us this powerful image of a sapling struggling to break through tough soil or a knotted thread whipping about in the wind.
Yeah.
It's all about navigating those tricky beginnings.
And figuring out how not to make the knots tighter, right? Because our source emphasizes patience and a measured approach. Not exactly what our instinct screams when we're feeling that pressure.
Yeah.
There's this quote that really brings it home. The wind blows the tangled thread without a head, causing worry due to disorder.
Oh, yeah.
Slow and steady there will be an order. Rushing will cause more trouble.
That's such a vivid way to describe it. It's
Yeah.
not about avoiding difficulty altogether,
Yeah.
but rather recognizing its role in the process of growth.
Okay, so maybe rushing to fix everything isn't the answer. But isn't there a danger in being too patient? When does slow and steady become procrastination?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the nuanced wisdom of Zhun. It's not about passivity,
Right.
but about discerning action. Sometimes the wisest move is to wait to observe, to allow the situation to unfold a bit before jumping in. Think of it like tending a garden.
Okay.
You wouldn't yank out a seedling just because it hasn't sprouted yet, right?
Right.
You'd give it the time and space it needs to grow.
I see what you mean. It's about trusting the process even when it feels messy and uncertain. Zhun seems to be saying that those early challenges are actually essential to reaching a brighter outcome. Kind of like how that sapling needs to push through the resistance of the soil to eventually reach the sunlight.
Precisely. The concept of early challenges leading to eventual success is central to Zhun. Think about a time you felt stuck at the beginning of something. Looking back, did those early struggles ultimately contribute to your success?
That's a good point. I'm remembering a time I started learning a new language, and those first few months felt like I was stumbling around in the dark.
Yeah.
But it was because of those initial struggles that I developed a deeper appreciation for the language and a stronger determination to master it.
Exactly. It's often those early challenges that forge resilience and resourcefulness. Now, Zhun does highlight some specific areas where this initial difficulty might show up. It points to potential challenges with unhealed illnesses, relationship troubles, even petty arguments.
Oh.
Things might feel a bit backwards or out of sync.
Ah, that doing things in reverse feeling. So not necessarily a prediction of doom and gloom, but more like a heads up to pay attention to those areas.
Yes, it's more like a gentle nudge to be mindful.
Okay.
And maybe practice a little extra patience in those areas of your life. Remember, Zhun doesn't deal in absolutes.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the ebb and flow of energy and recognizing that beginnings often come with their own set of unique challenges.
So it's not just, hey, your love life is doomed, but more like, hey, if things feel a bit rocky in your relationships right now, it's probably just part of the process of growth. Kind of reassuring, actually.
Right.
Speaking of love, does Zhun have anything to say about navigating those tangled threads of the heart?
Well,
Because I'm all ears.
the source specifically says, the development of feelings is hindered. It is advisable to stick to beliefs and overcome difficulties.
So even in matters of the heart, Zhun is emphasizing patience and resilience. Interesting.
Yes. Just as Zhun advises us to patiently untangle a knot,
Yeah.
it also suggests a similar approach to love. Sometimes relationships need time and space to work through those initial challenges before they can truly blossom.
That makes sense. It's like those early struggles can actually strengthen the bond if you approach them with the right mindset. But before we get too deep into relationship advice, I'm curious about the oracle mentioned in the source.
Okay.
What exactly does that refer to?
Ah, yes. The oracle, or the guaqi, is essentially the overall message of the hexagram. It's the first layer interpretation, offering a general overview of the situation at hand.
So it's like the headline and then we delve into the individual lines for the deeper story.
Exactly. And speaking of those lines, each of the 6 lines in Zhun gives us a more nuanced look at this process. Line 2, for instance, uses this intriguing image of riding a horse, yet appearing slack.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, that sounds a bit confusing. What's the message there?
It's about trusting the process, even when progress seems invisible or even backward. Sometimes the most important work is happening beneath the surface, like a horse gathering its strength before a leap.
I like that. It's a good reminder that not all progress is linear or immediately obvious. Sometimes you have to trust that things are moving in the right direction, even if it doesn't look like it on the surface.
Precisely. And then you have line 3, which takes a different approach, offering a cautionary tale about knowing when to give up on unattainable goals.
Like chasing a deer into a forest without a guide.
Yes.
That's the analogy used in the text, right?
It's about recognizing when persistence is actually working against you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the wisest move is to redirect your energy towards a more attainable goal.
So it's not just about blindly pushing through any difficulty, but about choosing your battles wisely.
Right.
Discernment is key, even when it comes to perseverance.
Absolutely. And this brings us to the area of lost items and litigation,
Okay.
which Zhun also touches upon.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how even in these seemingly unrelated areas,
Yeah.
the core themes of patience and careful action still apply.
So even if you've lost your keys or are dealing with a legal dispute, Zhun is suggesting a slow and steady approach.
Exactly. It's about avoiding rash decisions and instead taking the time to assess the situation before taking action.
Okay.
Just as Zhun advises patience in untangling a knot,
Mm-hmm.
it suggests a similar approach to recovering lost things or resolving disputes.
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes rushing to find something or forcing a resolution can actually make things worse. It's like that old saying, haste makes waste.
Precisely. And this brings us to the remaining lines of Zhun,
Okay.
each offering its own unique perspective on navigating these early challenges.
So we've covered lines 2 and 3, each offering a slightly different perspective on navigating the initial difficulty of Zhun.
Right.
What about the remaining lines? What other insights do they hold?
Well, line 4 paints a more optimistic picture.
Okay.
It brings back that image of riding a horse, this time connecting it to seeking marriage or partnership. It suggests that approaching relationships with a relaxed and sincere attitude can be beneficial.
So no need to force things or play games. Just be genuine and let things unfold naturally. That resonates with me. It seems to align with Zhun's overall emphasis on patience and allowing things to develop at their own pace.
Exactly. It's about trusting the natural progression of things, rather than trying to control every aspect of the journey. Which brings us to line 5,
Okay.
a line that cautions against overexertion. It talks about accumulating riches and how too much ambition can backfire.
So even though Zhun emphasizes perseverance, there's also a warning about pushing too hard.
Yes, it's fascinating, isn't it? Zhun acknowledges the importance of striving towards our goals, but cautions against becoming overly fixated on the outcome. It's a reminder that sometimes knowing when to pull back and celebrate the wins is just as important as pushing forward.
That's a really valuable insight. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of success and forget to appreciate the journey along the way.
Yeah.
Zhun seems to be advocating for a balanced approach, not giving up too easily, but also recognizing when enough is enough.
Precisely. It's about finding that sweet spot between effort and acceptance,
Right.
ambition and contentment, which leads us to the final line. Line 6, a line that carries a somewhat bittersweet tone. It depicts someone riding a horse in a relaxed manner, yet crying tears of blood.
Wow, that's a powerful image. What's the message behind those tears of blood?
It's a poignant reminder that even when we overcome challenges, there can be lingering emotional residue. It's like reaching the summit of a mountain, but still carrying the scars from the climb.
So Zhun is acknowledging that even when we reach a point of resolution, there might still be some emotional processing to do.
Yes, it's a reminder that growth often comes with a mix of joy and sorrow. We might achieve our goals,
Yeah.
but still carry the weight of the struggles we faced along the way.
Right.
And that's okay. It's part of the human experience.
That really resonates with me. I think we often have this expectation that once we overcome a challenge, we should just be happy and move on.
Yeah.
But Zhun is reminding us that it's okay to acknowledge those lingering emotions,
Right.
to allow ourselves time to heal and process the experience.
Exactly. It's about honoring the full spectrum of your experience, both the light and the shadow. And this idea of lingering emotions even after resolution is something to keep in mind as you navigate your own Zhun moments. Because, let's face it, life is full of new beginnings.
Right.
And with those beginnings often come a healthy dose of tangled threads.
That's so true. It's like Zhun is giving us a roadmap for navigating those inevitable challenges.
Yeah.
Reminding us that patience, resilience, and self-awareness are our best tools for untangling the knots and ultimately reaching a place of growth and clarity. And even though those early stages might feel like a messy jumble,
Right.
Zhun reminds us that there's a purpose to that struggle, that those initial difficulties are often the catalyst for profound transformation.
Beautifully put. And ultimately, that's the heart of Zun's message. It's not about avoiding challenges altogether, but about understanding their role in the grand scheme of things. It's about embracing the messy process of growth, knowing that those early struggles are often the fertile ground from which our greatest strengths emerge.
I love how Zhun offers a perspective that's both realistic and encouraging. It doesn't shy away from the difficulties inherent in new beginnings,
Right.
but it also reminds us that those difficulties are not insurmountable. They're part of a larger process of unfolding, of becoming. It's like that sapling pushing through the soil. It might be a struggle, but the struggle is what ultimately allows it to grow strong and tall.
Exactly. And it's not just about pushing through blindly.
Right.
It's about approaching those challenges with intention, with a sense of curiosity and openness. Remember that image of the tangled thread whipping in the wind. Zen is reminding us to slow down, to observe, to find that inner stillness before taking action. It's in that space of stillness that we can begin to untangle the knots with clarity and purpose.
And sometimes that untangling might involve letting go of certain threads altogether.
Yeah.
Like line 3 reminds us, knowing when to redirect our energy is just as important as perseverance. Sometimes the wisest course of action is to acknowledge that a particular path is no longer serving us and choose a new direction.
That's a powerful point. Zen doesn't promote blind persistence.
Right.
It encourages us to be discerning, to evaluate our goals and make adjustments as needed. And remember, this isn't about giving up on our dreams.
Right.
It's about recognizing when a particular approach isn't working and being willing to shift gears. It's about trusting our intuition and allowing ourselves the freedom to evolve.
That makes so much sense. It's about being flexible, adaptable, and open to the unexpected twists and turns that life inevitably throws our way. And through it all, Zun encourages us to cultivate patience not just with the external circumstances, but also with ourselves. It's about acknowledging that growth takes time, that there will be setbacks and moments of doubt,
Right.
but that those moments are also part of the journey.
Beautifully said. And remember, even when we reach a point of resolution, those tears of blood from line 6 might still linger.
Right.
It's a reminder to be gentle with ourselves, to allow space for the emotional processing that often accompanies growth and change. It's okay to feel the full spectrum of emotions, to honor the complexities of our human experience.
It's fascinating how Zun manages to weave together these seemingly disparate threads, patience, perseverance, resilience, surrender, into a cohesive tapestry of wisdom. It's like it's offering us a framework for navigating the messy, unpredictable, and ultimately transformative journey of life.
It truly is a remarkable piece of ancient wisdom that still holds so much relevance today. And as we wrap up our deep dive into Zun, I want to leave you with this thought. How can you apply the wisdom of this hexagram to a situation in your own life? What tangled threads are you currently grappling with? And what small, steady steps can you take to untangle those knots with grace and intention?
That's a great question for all of us to ponder. It's like Zun is inviting us to become active participants in our own journeys, to embrace the challenges as opportunities for growth, and to trust that even amidst the chaos, there's an underlying order waiting to be revealed.
Exactly. And remember, this is just one hexagram among many in the I Ching. There's a whole universe of wisdom waiting to be discovered within those ancient lines. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those gummy bears in moderation. Until next time, happy deep diving.
It's like Zun is giving us permission to slow down, like it's okay to not have all the answers right away.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unknown and trusting that the path will reveal itself as we move forward.
Kind of like how that sapling doesn't know exactly what shape it's going to take, but it just keeps reaching for the light.
Yes. It's a beautiful metaphor for the journey of life, isn't it?
It really is. And Zun is like a gentle guide reminding us to be patient with ourselves with the process and to trust that even in those moments of darkness, there's a seed of potential waiting to sprout.
And sometimes that potential lies in letting go of the things that are no longer serving us. Remember line 3. It's a reminder that surrender can be just as powerful as perseverance.
Right. It's about recognizing when it's time to shift gears, to release those old patterns and embrace new possibilities.
Exactly. And as we navigate those new beginnings, Zun encourages us to stay connected to our inner wisdom, to listen to that still small voice within that knows the way forward.
It's about trusting our intuition even when the path ahead seems unclear.
Precisely. And to remember that those early struggles, those moments of uncertainty, are often the catalyst for the most profound growth.
It's like Zen is saying, embrace the messiness. It's all part of the journey.
Yes. And as we embrace that messiness, we begin to cultivate a deeper sense of resilience and self-awareness. We learn to navigate the challenges with more grace and ease.
And through it all, we discover that those tears of blood, those lingering emotions, are not something to be feared, but rather embraced as part of the full spectrum of human experience.
Beautifully said. And so as we wrap up our deep dive into Zhun, I invite you to carry these insights with you. To remember the wisdom of the tangled thread, the struggling sapling, and the tears of blood.
And to trust that even amidst the initial difficulty, there's a path of growth and transformation waiting to be discovered.
Until next time, deep divers, may your journeys be filled with clarity, purpose, and a healthy dose of patience.